Thank you. My name is Bridget Quast. I'm a resident of Muskego.
Thank you.
I just wanted to encourage everyone to consider protecting trans youth and their need to be heard and seen. Trans kids who don't feel they have a trusted adult are more likely to consider suicide. Sometimes the trusted adult is not at home. Sometimes the trusted adult is at school. If we ask children to approach their parents first to get permission to be able to use preferred pronouns or non-binary pronouns, frequently they are not met with support at home. If they are not met with support at home, those trusted adults will be their teachers. I understand the desire to have parents in the loop for things like decisions about pronouns used at school, different names used at school. But our children at the high school years are supposed to be growing away from us. They're supposed to start becoming their own people. And although parents want to be involved, I think a dialogue is better serves the situation rather than just asking permission. We have mortality rates associated with kids who are LGBTQ who don't feel heard. Tell me about the mortality rates for parents who don't feel heard. My concern is for those kids. Thank you.
My name is Kyle Stewart. I'm a resident of Muskego. My biggest concern, well, first of all, I'm here to show support for the policy change to AG 8330, which I think is in the best interest of parents and families. And what I would like to say is this discussion right now is being framed in terms of doing what is best for children. And of course, we do need to do what is best for children. But children are a part of families, first and foremost. Our community is made up of families, which includes parents and includes children. And it is the responsibility of parents to do what is in the best interest of their children. And I understand that they may disagree. I disagree with my own children all of the time. And yet I love them and care about them and want to do what's best for them. And this policy, what it does is continue to affirm the ability of parents to support and have conversations with their children about the choices that they want to make. It doesn't prevent them from having a trusted adult that they can go to at school, but that trusted adult at school should redirect them back to their parents to facilitate a discussion about what is best for that particular child. And in high school, children are still children. These are 14, 15, 16, 17-year-old kids who are trying to do their best to make decisions, but I think we can all agree that the decisions we made in high school are not necessarily the ones that we stuck with for the rest of our lives, and that is why they need help from a parent or a guardian who has more wisdom and can help them along that journey. And so ultimately this is a policy that helps to affirm the family and the role of parents in a child and a student's life, which ultimately strengthens our community because our community is made up of families. And it isn't so much, I don't think, an issue of safety and disrespect because we can still remain respectful and keep kids safe while still affirming the role of parents in parenting their kids. Thank you.
I'm Heidi Edwards from Muskego. Thank you. I want to begin by saying that I'm speaking as a parent of 2 students tonight. That being said, I'm finding it impossible to separate my role as an educator as I speak about what it means to care for kids and allow them to become who they are. I have been in education for over 20 years. I've worked in all levels of school from kindergarten through the 12th grade. I've been a teacher, a principal, a coach, and a mentor. And when I began teaching, there were things that were not a part of best practice or even considered best for kids. Over time, however, we as professionals read, grow, adapt, and it always hinges on what's best for kids. When we know better, we've always done better. I have always trusted that when all stakeholders in this district discuss changes, we did so with the well-being of kids in mind. That being said, Guideline 8330 does not have the best interests of students in mind. The board has an opportunity here to do better. I've reached out to everyone on the board, and I appreciate so much all of your replies, but I am still frustrated by your stance that this guideline is even necessary. One of my concerns about 8330 is that it seeks to provide a solution to a non-problem. The guideline implies that people in district are able to change students' identities and claims a lack of transparency. I would like to clarify that no teacher is able to change anything about your student in Infinite Campus. While I'm sure there are people who can, I am not able to do this, and neither are your kids' teachers. As a parent in the district, my child being called by a different name by their own request is not a lack of transparency. I see that as educational professionals following best practice of what we know saves the lives of our LGBTQIA students and helps them to know they are loved and cared for. If someday my own children don't yet feel comfortable sharing who they are with me, I trust an adult at our school to help them. I would rather have my kids trust someone than feel they have no one. The adults who work with both of my kids in this district have always loved, supported, and guided them. 3 years ago, we debated about masks, and one of our central arguments was the mental health of our students. We said they were raising suicide and depression rates. I am bringing the same argument to you tonight. Please see it in the same light. My 2 children and every child in this district deserve the individual freedom and autonomy to become who they are supposed to be. This guideline prevents students from accessing this freedom. We as parents have the luxury of making whatever choices we want for our kids. However, educators are held to a higher standard. Our obligation of mandated reporting and certification by the state assures that we must legally function in the role of doing what is best for kids. All research says that acknowledging a student's request for a preferred name or pronoun is the right thing to do. Please don't ask our educators to do what we know is damaging to students. We as a district have the ability to do better. Please do so.
Casey Hine, resident of Muskego. I have lived in Muskego my whole life. I have 4 children, 2 of which have graduated from Muskego, 2 of which are at Muskego High School currently. In addition to that, I've been a teacher and educator for 27 years. As a parent and educator, I support the amendment to Policy AG 8330 that requires parent permission for any change to a student's personal information. To put it very simply, I do not believe that a child should be making such a significant decision without parent knowledge and/or consent. Also, I do not believe that a teacher should be expected to help that student make this important, life-changing decision without the input and guidance from the parent. I feel that this policy would be a bridge to and an opportunity to continue the conversation or even initiate the conversation between the children and the parents. As an educator, I feel that keeping this information from a parent or going against a parent's wishes is not only inappropriate, but also not in the child's best interest. Lastly, I do have loved ones, friends, and family in the LGBTQ community. I fully support their decisions to make their own choices. I cannot, however, support children making these life-changing choices without parental involvement.
Just some history. This is the 3rd and final reading of this policy item. So at this point, having discussed this twice before, having had public comment 3 times, I will then call on around the board. So
thank you, Mr. Buckmaster. You might want to put the 3-minute timer on me. I might get a little deep on this.
I don't think I'm allowed to time this.
I'll try and be brief.
I don't think the board has granted you that.
I'm going to recap much of what I said in many of the emails that I sent out. The parent-student dynamic is the single most important part of a child's education, period. They're the primary educators. They've raised their children up to the age of 4. They teach them their values. They teach them pretty much anything the school doesn't. We have, as a school district, those students in our schools for approximately 1,100 hours per year. The rest of the time, they're the parents' responsibilities, both for education and everything else. Many of the emails I received seem to indicate that the authors thought the schools exist, that the parents were there to raise the kids for the schools, when in reality, the schools exist to educate the students for the parents. The parents are the primary driver. They decide everything for our students, whether they're going to go to public school, private school, homeschooled, what extracurricular activities are they going to be involved in. They decide pretty much everything. It's our teachers that help guide and direct them in their education for math, science, reading, writing, everything else that the state and our school district feels is necessary. The biggest problem, I think, with not providing that information to the parents is that they would find out soon enough anyways. If we're started addressing a student in a class by a different name or pronoun, it's not going to be that long before the parent would find out. The teacher could make a slip in correspondence or during a conference. Other students in the class are going to speak to their parents, and their parents are, at least a couple of them, are going to know these other parents. It's not going to last long. And I know trying to cover up and mask something is worse when the truth comes out. When that hits, the child's going to be in an even worse situation than what we would have been trying to avoid. And I'm going to conclude with this. I talked to Mrs. Branson a couple times, and we have very talented and very dedicated psychologists and social workers in the district. And they are more than willing to help the students facilitate discussions with the parents. And I would hope that if there is a fear of their parents at home, that the social workers and the psychologists are going to work to solve that issue, and if need be, report it to the proper authorities. Now, I hope it wouldn't get that far. I hope the parents would be open, willing, and maybe reluctantly accepting of the child's decision, but it is still the parent and the child's decision to make together. Thank you.
This policy simply solidifies our district's commitment to full transparency between our district and our parents. Our goal has always been to work with and engage parents hand in hand, and that's with our parents, our teachers, and our staff to provide the best education experience that the Muskego-Norway School District can for their child. And we believe that it is imperative that this relationship is grounded in trust, and concealing information about their child, a minor, is counterproductive to that goal. And for me, I will support this policy change. Or that. So we are voting on the entire consent agenda, including this policy that was just discussed. Everyone is clear on that, right? Okay. So call the vote. Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Zimmerman? Yes. Mrs. Cotney? Yes. Mrs. Blair? Yes. Mr. Buckmaster?
Yes.
Mrs. Boyer? Yes. Mr. Hyde?
Yes.
And I am a yes.
All right, we have 7 yeses. Okay, having 7 yeses in favor, the motion, the consent agenda passes unanimously. Thank you, everyone, for your time.